What's up, y'all? It's Knowledge. Welcome to Brews and Reviews, and today I'm reviewing Big Sean's Detroit 2, and I am sipping on a Warsteiner Oktoberfest. That's a 5.9% dark lager coming in from Warstein, Germany in the Oktoberfest style, and this is a good beer, always seasonal this time of year, and let's see what Big Sean has in store for us. Detroit 2. Just looking at the track list, this is chock full of guest appearances, and this has to be the most guest appearances in an album this year outside of a producer or a compilation album. And even as we get further into it, we realize that there's a lot of cameos on this and people that make appearances that aren't even listed. So he has a lot of different voices coming in on this project. There has to be a little something for everybody. Full disclosure, I'm not a huge Big Sean fan, but I was excited to hear this one, partly because of the track list and partly because I heard Deep Reverence, which was a great track and made me want to dig into this full project. This is Big Sean's 5th album, but it's been 3 years since he has released any full length, and I'm hoping that long hiatus has added to his growth and maturity. The first track is Why Would I Stop? And this is always a great way to start the album with an instrumental that's drumless and immediately going for bars over that drumless track. I love intros like that. That's the way to do it. And as the beat kicks in, he starts going after some of his critics and some people that thought that he didn't produce well on his previous efforts. The beat is produced by Hit Boy and has some nice switch ups in it and has a really dark, bassy sound. And this is one of many tracks that we'll hear by Hit Boy on this album and many other producers. It has almost as many producers as it has rappers on this album. Lucky Me is the next track, and this is an interesting beat. It has some upbeat, happy piano, and it sounds a little bit out of place after the first track, but I like it. In the lyrics, he touches on some personal topics like past relationships and health issues. He says, "Man, lucky me to be the chosen one, and saved for the special occasions like I was Opus One. You know, and I'ma live forever like Walt Disney, the Frozen One." I love that line. Opus One being a really expensive wine, and Walt Disney, of course, famously being cryogenically frozen with the thoughts of being brought back to life one day, but also Frozen, the movie, is one of Walt Disney's most successful movies and probably will live on forever as well. After those lines, there's a huge surprise with a massive beat switch up done again by Hit Boy, and Sean goes off on the flow. He's going rapid fire so much by the end with the beat sonically just messing with your head and Sean doing his thing on the flow. It makes the listener even want to catch their breath by the end of this song. There are a lot of beat switches throughout this entire album, and when you have multiple producers, a team of producers, sometimes it can come off as feeling not cohesive, but I think this is the way to do it if you don't have multiple producers producing the same segment of a song, but producing different segments, then sometimes that can create really effective beat switch ups, and Big Sean does that on a lot of this album, but some of it does fail and sounds a little overproduced. Deep Reverence featuring Nipsey Hussle is one of the standout tracks, and this is something they were working on when he was alive, by the way. It's not one of those thrown together posthumous tracks that we often hear that are less than stellar. Nipsey actually wanted to do this song with Big Sean, and you can tell by the subject matter, even the title was there, Deep Reverence, but at the same time, I think the title takes on extra meaning since Nip is dead now, with Sean showing his immense respect or his deep reverence that he has for the late, great Nipsey Hussle. Case in point, Big Sean comes through with good perspective on these lines. He says, "After what happened to Nipsey, I reached out to Kendrick. It wasn't even no real issues there to begin with. Lack of communication and wrong information. from people fueled by their ego. It's like mixing flames with diesel. In fact, he's dropping jewels throughout his long verse, touching on many different subjects poignantly, and some other standout lines are, "And how the fuck is people that never met me that hate me? I wonder if they understand that I meditate daily and feel like my purpose is to give inspiration, despite the hit songs that there's just no escaping." He sounds like he's matured a lot and done a lot of reflection over the past 3 years. Wolves brings it down a little bit, not one of the best tracks to me. Sean does continue with some introspective lyrics. This does feel like a bit of a reach for radio, especially including Post Malone, who I don't usually get down with at all. Although his verse here is not terrible and it's not really distracting from the album as a whole, but to me, this is a skippable track. Body language, this one smooths it out and slows it down. It's featuring some adequate crooning from Dolla and Big Sean's girl, Jhene Aiko. Lyrically, it's all about sex, and musically, it's very pop-esque, and this is not a track that I'll probably return to a lot. It's probably one that I'll skip over, but at the same time, I can't fault Sean for making it because he's already given us some lyrically deep tracks, and he's already given us some different sounds to vibe to. And after all, he is a platinum selling artist, so I do expect tracks like this on this album, and I'm just happy that they're not all in this same kind of vein. The next track is an interlude story handled by Dave Chappelle. If you put Chappelle on an album, even if it's just a 2-minute interlude, I'm gonna listen to your whole damn hour and 11-minute album just because of that 2-minute interlude with Dave Chappelle speaking on it. I've got that much respect for the dude, and he comes through. He tells a funny story that also has a very emotional connection at the end of it, and it also plays into the theme of the album, not only in that the story is about Detroit itself, but it does have that human connection that Big Sean is trying to portray on a lot of these tracks. Harder Than My Demons, produced by Mike Will Made It. This is the second single off of the project, and this one is catchy in a good way. It's not quite as good as the first single, but still, I'm digging this track. And I really like that he's going deep lyrically on these singles. He didn't have to do that, so that shows his maturity and where he's at this point in his career. Lyrically, he's talking about natural healing and not needing synthetic medicine. It's extremely positive, and I 100% agree with his message on not taking synthetic drugs. However, he does get a little bit into conspiracy theory, almost on the border. Not sure exactly what he's getting at with these lines, but he says, "See, my third eye is on left eye. I can't let them easy-e me. No, sir, I don't even do flu shots." So this plays into the conspiracy that maybe Left Eye wasn't actually in an involuntary car accident and that Eazy-E may have been injected with AIDS. I don't know for sure if that's what he's going for because he doesn't explicitly say it. And Justin Bieber, of all people, makes a cameo on the outro of this song, one of many cameos that we'll hear throughout this album. Everything that's missing mutes the energy a little bit, brings it down, and gets more reflective. And Sean sums up the sentiment perfectly with the first 2 lines of the track. He says, "I'm about to delete my Twitter and follow my intuition. Been in and out of the mud, but somehow I'm in mint condition." And this is an interesting beat. It has the normal bass line that we might expect, but it has some very toned down snares and some really smooth horns over it. Later in the song, he further displays his maturity when he says, "And find out random bitches can't even compare to commitment. And you learn hearing doubts doesn't mean you have to listen. And you can't believe how much you made, not money, a difference. And find out everything you had was everything you missing." ZTFO, which stands for Zen the Fuck Out, is almost an oxymoron to me. Is the word fuck Zen? I don't know if the word fuck can actually be Zen, but nevertheless, I like Big Sean's direction and his sentiment in natural mental healing in this case, and I think that really works. Tracis Scott also pops up in a cameo on this song. He doesn't do much on the track, but we hear him a lot more a little bit later on in the album. Guard Your Heart featuring guest artist extraordinaire Anderson .Paak. And I really like what he's doing this year in his guest appearances, where it's a little bit different than what we've heard in years past. We normally just hear him on the bangers, and every song with Anderson .Paak you know is going to be on a playlist, but he's doing a lot more this year. And on this song in particular, it's slowed down and he's showing that versatility. And this is a jazzy instrumental. I like the instrumental variation that Sean has used throughout this album. 10 tracks in, and we've had a little bit of every style of hip hop. And even though I wouldn't really think it would fit for the bass heavy bouncy artist Big Sean, he really fits in well with this jazzy production. However, Wale's guest appearance on this track does win the track. He gets the W for it, and he comes in talking about some very current, modern concerns. Yeah, I motivate, I don't divide. The 45 a coward for practicing otherwise. A burnt nation, still it's under God. Not gonna throw the towel in, I'm by my brother's side. Respect it. This is weird, and speaking of beat variation, this one sounds like it's gonna come in and be a banger from the jump, but as soon as Sean comes on and he starts his chorus, it starts to feel weaker. I don't know how that happens with a beat like this, but it does. Young Thug is a guest appearance here, and he does a little bit better with the beat, but I think these guys could have used the potential of the beat a little bit more. As it stands, this is a skippable track to me. Only Sean or Young Thug stands, which there's a lot of them out there. They'll probably be in my comments, but only they will appreciate this song. Lithuania featuring Tracis Scott. This is the next single off the album. They produced a music video for this, and this beat was made by Hit Boy, and it's very different, very atmospheric and spacey, and I really like what he did with this beat. Tracis Scott does his thing. I'm not a huge fan, but I like what he's doing here. I think fans of his will be very pleased with this guest spot. There's really nothing mind-blowing lyrically on the track from Sean, but it's still a good listen and serves as a good single. Full Circle is the next track, and did he know that Nas just released a song called Full Circle, and it was one of the most high-profile songs because it featured The Firm off of his new album? I don't know, I might have changed the name, called it 360, something like that, if I would have known that, but hey, this one is its own song. It doesn't sound anything like that. It has nothing to do with it. And that being said, I actually enjoy this beat more than Nas's Full Circle. Wayne has a great beat for us on this one that he can't hang with his own verse. Some of that may be the mixing, but he does sound self-conscious on it. There's also another cameo, in this case Diddy, and I can tell that his ad-lib game has severely suffered since the 90s. He's not really adding a lot to the track. Big Sean saves it though, and he flows really well over Wayne's stellar production. Time In starts with another damn cameo, and this is like the party where you're trying to invite a few people, and they all invite a few people, and they invite a few people, and all of a sudden it's just overcrowded. There are a ton of artists on this album. This song also features Jhene Aiko, and they do sound good singing together, but they're talking about fucking again and their love life. And really, did we need 2 tracks about these two fucking on this album? Did we really need to hear that twice? I don't know. I'm skipping this track. Then we've got an interlude by Erykah Badu, and then we get the song Feed, which is one of the few tracks on the album without a guest appearance, and Big Sean uses his time alone to really get experimental with the flow and making this stand out as a track on this long album, even though he's going solo on it. And lyrically, he's remaining with the same positive theme that we're hearing on so many of these tracks. The Baddest, produced by the man, No ID, I love No ID, one of the greatest producers of all time. I can immediately hear the Godzilla sample, same one Pharaoh Monch got in trouble for. So I hope they cleared this. I'm sure they did. I wouldn't mention it here if I didn't think they did. And to me, I don't know if I would have flowed over that sample anyway because Pharaoh did so much with it. And I'm starting to think that Big Sean has a big L for trying to flow over the same thing that Pharaoh flowed over. However, on the second verse, that sample drops out at first and Sean goes off. It works and he's going for some of his best delivery on the entire album. Dawn Life, this beat goes hard and it's multi-layered. There's multiple switch ups. Again, we're hearing switch ups throughout the album, particularly on this one when it switches up for Wayne's verse. It makes it stand out. And Wayne, he's coming with some fire, better guest appearance than I've heard from him in a little while. And he has some great lines like, "My heart raced till it catch up to who it's running after. Oh my gosh, I'm gone. I'm on a planet I'm not knowing. Said, let there be light, but then all my lights were blown. Yeah, I know my rights. I mean, I know right from wrong." Friday Night Cypher. And you know, seeing the track list, this is one that we were waiting for. Probably one that a lot of people skipped to when they first got to the album, even though it's close to the end. This has half of the damn known rappers from the city of Detroit, particularly showcasing a lot of the young talent that this city has to offer. I feel like T Grizzley doesn't do a lot with his opportunity, but it progresses from there with Cash Doll and Cash Kid hanging, but not dropping any jaw-dropping bars. Definitely picks up with Payroll Giovanni, and then 42 Dugg goes full-on Eazy-E with his verse, and I like this one. He takes the top spot of the young crew, and then Sada Baby comes in a little bit later and he gets the second best spot for the young talent on this track. However, when Big Sean's on, it's already apparent it's hard for these guys to hang with the OGs. Big Sean makes sure that he doesn't get washed on his own song. The beat switches up throughout the entire cypher, and I think that Sean saves the best beat for himself, but he does the most with it too. He goes in fully lyrical and has the third best right behind Royce and M, who are coming right after him. Boldy James is also on here. He doesn't do a whole lot, but speaking of Royce, I love to see Royce and M supporting these young artists, but as soon as Royce enters this song, it just makes you realize how weak everything before was, comparatively. And then there's Slim, who plays cleanup, and he kills it, of course, and he gets longer than everybody else to just go off and do his thing on extended bars. And did these guys not get to hear Eminem's verse? I might have requested to hear what he had going on before I decided to do my thing. I definitely would have tried to compete with the rap god, and I appreciate what Sean was trying to do in making this song and to showcase these guys, but if you're truly trying to showcase them, maybe don't put Royce the 5'9" and Eminem on the song. And by the way, don't kill your own verse yourself. This just makes me want to skip to the last half of the song when we get into the real MCs. There's another story interlude with Stevie Wonder, and Big Sean is goated for getting Stevie Wonder to do an interlude on the album. Would have been better to hear him sing though. Still I Rise, Sean hits us with a little more positivity and a few more jewels to close out the album, and this serves mostly as an outro to me. Not really a standalone song, but I think it does do well to sum things up. This is long and inconsistent at times, but I think Big Sean had enough variety on this album to keep us interested. He had a lot of different styles and multiple beat switch ups even within the same tracks. And he definitely included enough guest appearances to keep things interesting, although not a whole lot of them stand out. One of my favorite rappers of all time has a line where he says, "You had so many guest appearances, you made a cameo on your own album." Even as packed as it is, it still feels like a Sean album. I like his inspirational message and the growth and maturity that he's displaying on so many of the lyrics of these tracks. Still, as a whole, there are a few skippable tracks, and I think excluding those would have made this a much tighter and better listen. All of this being said, I'm going to give this a 7 out of a 12 pack. Thank you for watching my review of Big Sean's Detroit 2. If you like this, go ahead and hit like now and hit me up in the comments. If you didn't like it, also comment. Let me know why. You can subscribe to my channel that's popping up to my left, or you can click on some other videos that are popping up to my right. I drop hip-hop and hops related content consistently, so check out the next one. And until I see you then, keep buzzing.